Hi, this is Chris Guld with Geeks On Tour and Learn Google Photos, and this tutorial video is an overview of the Google Photos app on both iPhone and Android. I'm going to show you what the buttons are and what they do. First, a bird's eye view. There's 5 buttons, 2 at the top. The one on the left is sharing, the one on the right is the account button, and then all 3 buttons at the bottom are about your library of photos. Let's start with the one just called Photos. So this button is your library. All of your photos are here in a timeline. So it starts at the top with the most recent picture. If you start scrolling down, you can grab this little button and see the dates go by. I have nearly 100,000 pictures throughout the years in my Google Photos, but I can travel so easily up and down. This top row is very special. It's called Memories, and it is where Google has surfaced for you pictures for you to remember. Recent highlights is very nice. That is exactly what it means, recent highlights. And if you tap on it, it just plays like a slideshow. Or if you want to, you can go fast through them. And if you swipe over, then you get to the next memory, which was what they call a themed memory. This was by place. So it says in Tavernier and Key Largo, there are some recent pictures here. The rest of it is all back through the years. And each year gets you pictures from this week. So if I tap on this week 10 years ago, I'm looking at June 29. Today is July 5. So that is 7 days back is the first picture, and it goes through a slideshow. If you don't see a particular year in your memories, that means you didn't have any pictures in this week for that year. Just one other comment about your photo library. I said that it has every photo and video in your Google Photos library, except ones that you have moved to the archive or ones that are in device folders on an Android that are not being backed up. And one other thing you can do with your library is you can use pinch and zoom. So if I pinch all the way, that's as far as it goes. This is month view, so I can see that that's June, and the next white spot will be for May. I take a lot of pictures. Then if you spread your fingers, we are now in day view. And if you tap on one, you're getting into one picture. You can still pinch to the next one, pinch, pinch, all the way till you're back in month view. And that is your photos, your photo library. The next 2 buttons that are all about your library are Search and Library. And Search is just what you think, plus a lot more. You tap on Search, and if you want to do a specific search, you tap Search Your Photos. So for example, I want to see Mount Rushmore. I search, and there are all my photos of Mount Rushmore. Now I tap back to get back, and I can search for something else. Something like kayaking in Venice. One of my favorite topics. Now notice that you did have to tap twice, search and search, before you could type in a search item. If you know that you want to search for something, you can long press on search and it goes right to it. But the search button has lots more. You can search by people, and if you've clicked view all, you'll see all your people. You can search by places on a map. We have a whole other video on that. You can search by things or your activity, favorites. One of my favorite things to do is just look at my favorites rather than my entire library. All of that is in search. Anything that you want to explore or filter your library by is in search. The last tab at the bottom is Library. Now this is tools to work with your library. As opposed to the photos, this is your library. These are the tools to work with and manage your library, like ordering prints or photo books. Fabulous. Here's favorites again. You can see your favorites both in search and in library. Archive and trash, and your albums. Probably the most important thing in library is your albums. You can either find an album or make a new one. Then kind of the catch-all of everything else you can do is found in utilities. All sorts of things here. And here is where Google will give you information and suggestions of things that need to be done. And at the very bottom is where you can create new things. So if you want to create a collage or free up space or scan photos with PhotoScan. So the search is how you look for something, like you can look for all your animations, but the library has the tools to make the animations. Now, so far I've only been showing you my iPhone. There are two more things under the library button on the Android. So we go into Google Photos, and everything so far looks the same, right? Exactly the same. But in library, you also have photos on device. The device folders don't exist on the iPhone. So here is where you can say whether or not you want your Instagram photos to be part of your Google Photos library. If that backup and sync is not on, then these photos are not part of your photos. And under Utilities, there's one more option on the Android, and that is managing photo frames. The next button is the Account button. You should see your little face, or at least the first letter of your name up here, and when you tap it, you see the account whose photos you are looking at. Realize you can have multiple accounts. If I tap on that little down arrow, I have this other account called Guld that is kind of my test account. I'm seeing completely different pictures when I look at that versus when I look at my own. Notice also when I'm looking at Odie's account, it now tells me that it's being backed up to a different account. So pictures I take are still being backed up to the Chris Guld, even though I am looking at the Odie Guld. Let me go back to Chris. So the other things that you'll find in the Account button is the status, whether or not your photos have been completely backed up or not, or if they are waiting to be backed up. You have the free up space that will delete already backed up. You have the Photos settings. This is for your app. So the Account button is all about you and your app preferences. You go into settings, and here is where all the settings are that determine how your app acts. And last is Help and Feedback. The last button is this one. It looks like a speech bubble. It stands for sharing. So when you tap that, you're seeing everything that you have shared with other people and that they have shared with you. So that completes our overview. The top buttons are about you, and the bottom buttons are about your photos.